You ever get that feeling in your gut, like something's shifting under your feet and you can't tell if it's the ground giving way or just your world cracking open? That was me, standing in the living room, watching my wife slip on a pair of earrings she hadn't worn in years. Silver hoops, the kind she used to wear in college when she was wild and a little reckless. The kind she wore when she was with him. We just had an argument. Tense, quiet, one of those fights that sizzles under your skin because neither of you really says what you want to say. I had brought up the way she'd been distant, the way she clutched her phone like it held secrets instead of group texts, the way she laughed too loudly at messages she wouldn't let me see. She deflected, of course, said I was being paranoid, said I was acting weird again. The words rolled off her tongue like a rehearse line. And then she said it. Maybe I just need a night out. I asked where she was going, trying to keep my voice even. That's when she told me. Troy's throwing a party. A bunch of old friends are going. I already said I'd drop by. Troy, the ex. The guy who used to play guitar at parties and think he was God's gift to women. The guy who had a thing for emotionally unstable poets and red wine. The guy she'd nearly left me for in our second year of dating. I didn't even know they still talked. You serious? I asked, trying to keep calm, but my fists were clenched tighter than I realized. She shrugged, not even looking me in the eyes. It's just a party, Matt. You don't own me. I remember watching her walk out the door, that blue dress clinging to her curves, her hips swaying just a little too much for a woman who was just going to catch up with friends. I stood there, still as a statue, trying not to let the rush of anger and dread take over. The door closed, and silence dropped like a guillotine. That was the night it all started. I poured myself a drink, not my usual beer, but scotch. The kind I save for when I need to numb something sharp inside me. I stared at the blank TV screen, refusing to turn it on. If I watched anything, if I distracted myself, I'd start to believe that nothing was happening, that she was really just with friends. But I couldn't lie to myself like that. She didn't text. Not once. Not even a courtesy made it there, or I'll be home late. That silence? It screamed. Midnight came and went. I checked her location on Find My iPhone. Disabled. 1:23 nachts. Still nothing. I sat in our bed alone. Her pillow was cold. I ran my hand over it like an idiot, imagining I could still smell her perfume, vanilla and something floral. It used to comfort me. Now it just felt like a ghost brushing against my skin. The bedroom felt bigger without her. Emptier. I laid there staring at the ceiling, hearing every creak the house made, every ticking second of the clock like a countdown to something I didn't want to face. Was she drunk on wine or him? Was she laughing at one of his lame jokes? Was he touching her the way I used to? I hated myself for thinking about it, but I couldn't stop. At 3:37 a.m., I heard the front door open. My heart was a war drum. I got up and walked to the stairs, staying quiet, just watching. She walked in barefoot, heels in hand, mascara slightly smudged, hair a little messier than it should have been. And when she saw me standing there in the dark, she flinched like a thief caught mid-step. Jesus, Matt, you scared me, she said, her voice husky and defensive. You didn't answer my calls. My phone died. Really? I took a step closer. You were gone all night. You stayed there. She hesitated. It was only for a second, but I saw it. That pause. That flicker in her eyes. I had too much to drink, she said. Troy said I could crash on his couch. I didn't want to drive. I nodded slowly, trying to keep my expression neutral. But inside, something cracked. A hairline fracture, subtle but deep. She walked past me without another word, went straight to the bathroom, closed the door. I stood in the hallway, hands shaking, staring at that closed door. The thing is, in relationships, there are a million little moments. Some you forget instantly, and some you never do. That moment, I knew I'd remember forever, because that was the night she made the choice. The night of betrayal didn't come with a dramatic confession or some stranger's text popping up on her screen. It came in the silence, the way her eyes couldn't meet mine, the subtle perfume of guilt, and the sound of the lock clicking on the bathroom door. It started with a slip, like most secrets do. 3 days after the party, I was at the Roost, the bar we sometimes went to with friends after work. It was supposed to be a casual drink with Rob and Lacey, our mutual friends from college. Lacey and my wife had grown close over the past couple years. They did yoga together, double dates, girls' nights. Too close in hindsight. We were just finishing our second round when Rob got up to hit the restroom, and Lacey turned toward me, wine glass in hand, her tongue a little looser than usual from the Pinot. "So," she said with a sly grin, "did you and Brooke work things out after Friday night?" My heart gave one hard thump. I set my beer down slowly. "What do you mean?" She blinked, caught herself, but it was too late. "The party at Troy's. She didn't tell you?" "She told me she stayed the night. Said she was drunk. Crashed on the couch." Lacey's expression changed subtly, an almost imperceptible tightness at the corners of her eyes. She laughed, but it was too light, too forced. "Yeah, well, it was definitely a wild night. I left around 1, but she was still there, dancing on the damn kitchen counter like she was 20 again." My stomach dropped. She didn't mention that. "Oh," Lacey said quickly, suddenly realizing she was in over her head. I assumed you knew. I didn't say anything, just gave a tight smile and stood to leave. "Thanks, Lacey. I'll see you around." Back home, I sat in my car in the driveway for nearly an hour, keys in the ignition, engine running. I stared at the porch light, the same one she'd left on the night of the party. Dancing on the counter? What else? She hadn't told me shit. That little flicker of doubt that had started the night she walked in barefoot had now erupted into a full-on blaze. I started noticing more. Her phone was always in her pocket or face down now. She used to leave it charging on the kitchen counter. Now it never left her side. She changed her password, switched up her routines. She'd been working late more often, showering at strange times, wearing perfume to the gym. And sex? It was dead. That week I tried. I kissed her neck while she did dishes, ran my hands over her hips, something I hadn't done in a while. For a moment, her body stiffened under my touch, like she'd forgotten how I felt. Then she forced a smile and said, "Not tonight. I'm just exhausted." The ache in my chest was worse than anger. It was rejection with the weight of betrayal behind it. The confrontation happened 2 nights later. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch. The TV was playing something neither of us were watching. I turned to her and said it flat. "Did you sleep with Troy?" The question landed like a punch. She blinked, caught off guard but not surprised. Her eyes darted to the TV, then to the wall, anywhere but my face. "What kind of question is that?" "A direct one." She scoffed. "No, Matt. Jesus. I told you I stayed on the couch." "Because you were drunk?" She nodded once, but her body language betrayed her. Legs pulled up defensively, arms crossed. "And you danced on his kitchen counter?" I asked, watching her reaction. That got her. Her head snapped toward me, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "Who told you that? Does it matter?" Her face flushed, lips parting slightly. Lacey shouldn't be running her mouth. I sat back. "So it's true." She didn't answer, and silence, again, was louder than any confession. "You kissed him, didn't you?" I said, my voice quieter now, more tired than angry. She looked down at her hands, picked at a non-existent thread in her sweater. "Brooke, it didn't mean anything," she said. There it was. Not denial, not defiance, an excuse. It hit harder than if she'd screamed at me. "So you did." I felt my jaw tighten. "You slept with him." I said it didn't mean anything. "That's not an answer," I snapped. "Did you sleep with him?" She stood up then, walking to the kitchen like she needed distance between us. "It was one night. One fucking night, Matt. We were drunk. We got caught up in it. And I didn't want to hurt you, okay? Too late for that." The conversation spun into chaos from there. Accusations, denials, half-truths sprinkled with deflections. She said things like, "You've been distant for months. We don't connect anymore. You don't even notice me most days." But none of that changed the core truth. She had cheated. Not in a text, not in a fantasy, but in flesh and sweat and the kind of intimacy you don't just stumble into by accident. When she cried, part of me wanted to reach out to her. The other part wanted to walk out and never look back. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed while she curled up on the couch downstairs. I could hear her soft sobs through the floor, but I didn't move, because something inside me had finally snapped. And for the first time in our marriage, I realized I wasn't the one on the outside of the betrayal. She was, and the fire that had been flickering in my chest for days, it was starting to take shape. It's strange what clarity feels like after devastation. There's a moment, After the crying, after the silence, after the sting of your world being pulled apart, where a cold sort of calm creeps in. And that's when I started to think. I wasn't going to scream at her. I wasn't going to post about it online or storm into Troy's apartment and throw punches like some unhinged idiot. That would make me look weak. Pitiful. No, I needed something smarter. More devastating. I needed to make her feel the weight of what she'd done. Not just her. Him too. All of them. The people who smiled in our faces while knowing what was really going on behind the scenes. I wanted the truth out, but it couldn't come from rage. It had to come from her. From them. Unraveled in their own words, their own voices. So the idea came to me, simple at first, then growing more elegant by the hour. A documentary. Not about her, not directly. It would be about love, trust, betrayal. An emotional deep dive into modern relationships. I present it like a passion project, something I was exploring creatively. I want to document what it means to be vulnerable in a marriage, I told people. To talk about love and the risks we take when we give ourselves to someone. I played the part of the thoughtful, introspective husband seeking understanding, not revenge. And people believed me, because that's the thing. I had always been the calm one, the quiet observer, the good listener. They had no reason to suspect I had an agenda. It started with a camera, a modest DSLR setup, 2 wireless mics, and a soft LED light ring. I set up a backdrop in my office, nothing dramatic, just warm lighting and neutral colors to keep things feeling safe, intimate. Then I started with the interviews. My first subject was Hannah, a co-worker who had been through a nasty divorce 2 years back. She opened up like a floodgate. He cheated on me with a woman 10 years younger. I never even saw it coming, she said, her voice shaking. You think you know someone. You share a bed, raise kids together, and still they can lie straight to your face. I asked her what trust meant. She stared at the lens, blinking back tears. Trust is handing someone a loaded gun and believing they won't pull the trigger. Click. Saved. That line alone was gold. Next came James and Erica, a couple we'd been friends with since before we were even married. They sat down on my couch, holding hands, laughing softly. Their story was one of overcoming infidelity early in their marriage, and I encouraged them to share it in full. I leaned in, sympathetic. I nodded at the right moments. I let them talk. James said something that stuck with me. The hardest part wasn't the cheating. It was the lying. Once you lie about who you are, everything else unravels. Click. Saved. They had no idea I was building a narrative. Then I started asking more pointed questions. To her sister, Sarah, do you think Brooke is happy in the marriage? Has she ever said anything that made you wonder if she's drifting? To her yoga friend, Kelsey, what do you think causes people to cheat? Is it boredom? Emotional disconnect? Just impulse? Kelsey gave me more than I expected. Well, she said, twirling her tea, Brooks always said that Troy was the one that got away. I wouldn't be surprised if there were still sparks. I mean, it's not like you and her have always been, like, passionate, you know? I smiled, even as something inside me twisted. Click. Saved. I kept my tone casual around Brooke, even affectionate. She started warming back up to me. Maybe she thought the worst was behind us. You're working on your little film again? She asked one night, glancing at my open laptop. Yeah, been good to stay busy. What's it about again? Love, I said, watching her reaction. Marriage. The things we don't talk about. She nodded slowly, then looked away. Something about that scared her. Not enough to confront me, but enough to keep her on edge. Good. A week later, I bought a new camera. One that could be hidden. A pinhole lens embedded into a bookshelf in my office. A backup mic under the desk, just in case any conversations came up while people were waiting for their interview. Brooke's cousin stopped by to drop off a sweater she borrowed. They chatted in my office while I pretended to be on a phone call in the kitchen. Have you told him yet? Her cousin asked, whispering. Told him what? About the party. What really happened? You don't think he knows? Brooke lowered her voice. No. He suspects something, but I've been careful. I told him I passed out on the couch. He bought it. Click. Saved. I had hours of footage now. Stories. Reflections. Confessions. Every person contributing to this documentary had no idea they were helping me build a weapon. They thought they were being honest, brave, human. And they were. But what they didn't know is that I wasn't looking for catharsis. I was building a slow, unraveling truth, one that would play out in full view, in front of everyone she knew. I didn't want to destroy her with a scream. I wanted her to sit in a room full of friends and family and hear her own voice betray her. I started with a list. Everyone who had been around her in the days before and after the party. Her best friend, her sister, her coworker Jen, the one who used to cover for her when she left work early. I didn't want just voices. I wanted patterns, connections, echoes of the same truth, told differently. Each conversation was framed as part of the emotional tapestry I was weaving for the documentary. That phrase, emotional tapestry, worked like a charm. It made people feel important, like they were being invited into something profound. And all the while, I was playing chess. Jen was first. She was easy. We met at a little cafe near the river. I set up the camera discreetly, leaning into the role of the filmmaker trying to capture authenticity. Jen was nervous at first, sipping her chai latte like she wasn't sure if she wanted to be on camera. But then she started talking. I think people cheat because they're looking for something they've lost, she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. Or maybe they're chasing a version of themselves they miss. What do you mean? I asked. Like, Brooke. She used to be spontaneous, wild. I remember the stories she used to tell about Troy before she met you. I kept my face neutral. She told you about the party? Jen hesitated. Just little things. She mentioned it was intense, that she didn't expect old feelings to hit her that hard. Click. Saved. Back at home, I set up new hidden equipment in the hallway, kitchen, and living room. Discreet little devices tucked in vents behind picture frames. Not because I wanted to catch her having sex in our house. That part was over. I was sure of it. She wasn't dumb enough to repeat that mistake. But conversations? Slips? That's where the truth lived now. And I was right. A few days later, her sister Sarah came over. They opened wine in the kitchen. I was upstairs, supposedly editing. I muted the audio from my speakers and listened through the feed from the kitchen mic in real time. I still can't believe you stayed the night, Sarah said, laughing under her breath. Brooke groaned. Don't say it like that. I'm just saying. You've been quiet about it. I had to be. Matt's been weird lately. He keeps asking these indirect questions, like he's trying to catch me slipping. Has he? No, not really. He asked about the dancing, about the couch, but I stuck to the story. You sure Troy's not going to say something dumb? Brooke sighed. He wouldn't dare. He's too smug. Thinks he has this hold over me. Does he? Another pause. Not anymore. But the tone of her voice didn't match the words. Click. Saved. That night, I watched the footage back 5 times. Her posture, her face, her voice, it all told the same story. There had been sex. There had been lies. And now there was guilt, but not enough of it. Next up was her mother. That was a little trickier. I didn't expect her to know about the party, and she didn't. But her answers still mattered. I sat her down in the living room under the pretense of generational insights about love. She wore a pale pink blouse, her lipstick slightly smudged, and spoke with that rehearsed calm that women of her era carried like armor. Marriage is about sacrifice, she said, and sometimes that sacrifice is silence. I raised an eyebrow. You mean staying quiet about something painful? I mean, understanding when speaking up might do more harm than good. I leaned in. Have you ever kept a secret in a marriage? Her eyes shifted. Of course. Do you think Brooke has? That made her pause. Just enough to confirm what I already knew. I think, she said slowly, Brooke's still figuring out who she wants to be. And sometimes people make mistakes when they don't know who they are. Click. Saved. Even the ones who didn't know what happened knew something had. Later that week, I invited Troy's friend Marcus over. I told him I was gathering perspectives from people in our friend group, that I wanted his take on how men handle emotional distance in long-term relationships. He showed up with a 6-pack and sat on my back patio like we were just catching up. The conversation started casual. I kept it loose. Then I eased it in. You were at Troy's party, right? He nodded. Man, that thing got out of hand. Half the people there were just trying to relive their college days. Brooke seemed to have a good time. Marcus gave me a look, one of those half smirks that people don't realize they're doing until it's too late. Yeah, she and Troy were pretty locked in by the end of the night. I didn't flinch. Locked in. He chuckled. You know how it is. Old sparks. Booze. God, I remember seeing them disappear upstairs and thinking, welp, some things never change. He laughed like it was nothing. But to me, it was everything. Click. Saved. At this point, the footage was growing into something raw. Personal. Dangerous. I had hours of interviews and accidental confessions. Glimpses of the truth tucked between facial expressions and nervous laughter. I wasn't just gathering evidence. I was building irrefutable context. Everyone was part of the betrayal now, through action or silence. And when I played this back in front of them, they would see it all. Worse yet, they'd see each other. And Brooke, she'd see herself, exactly as she was. Troy had always been one of those guys. You know the type, perfect beard, confident swagger, the kind of man who still lives like he's the lead singer in a college band, even though he's pushing 40 and balding in places he pretends aren't there. Every woman he meets is beautiful, in a way that sounds sincere, but always leads to the same place, his bed. He was charming, sure, but I'd seen past it a long time ago. What I needed now was to let others see it too. That's where the setup came in. I reached out to Troy with a message that I knew would get his attention. Hey man, working on a short doc about love, loss, and reconnection. Thought you might have a cool perspective since you've seen so many phases of life. Want to be part of it? He replied in minutes. Hell yeah, I got stories, bro. Just let me know when and where. Of course you do, Troy. We met at his loft apartment. Too many windows, too many mirrors. The place reeked of self-importance and leather-scented cologne. He wore a deep V-neck shirt and silver chain, like it was still 2012. I brought a minimal setup, a handheld camera with a wide lens and lapel mic I clipped to his shirt. Told him I was going for a gritty one-on-one vibe. Troy loved that. You're not going to blur my face or anything, right? I want to be in it. Nope, I said. It's all about authenticity. He cracked a beer and sat back, spreading his legs like he owned the couch. And that's when I hit record. Let's talk about past relationships. I began keeping my tone casual. You ever had one that left a mark? Oh yeah, he grinned. Plenty. He leaned in like we were just two guys talking. The camera sat on a tripod. Undistracting, non-threatening. His ego did the rest. You know Brooke, right? He said, as if it was a throwaway line. Mun, that woman. She was something else back in the day. I played dumb. Yeah? I didn't know you two were serious. Oh, come on, dude, he laughed. Everyone knew. We were inseparable. That girl used to drive me crazy. In the best way. He sipped his beer, eyes twinkling with the thrill of reminiscing. We had this thing where we could just pick up right where we left off. Like no time passed. My chest tightened, but I smiled. Still talk. Here and there, he shrugged. I mean, things got a little complicated lately. Complicated how? He shifted slightly, that smirk widening. Let's just say old habits die hard. You know how it is. You see someone from your past, and everything just comes rushing back. Sounds intense. Man, he chuckled, shaking his head. That night at my party, I didn't plan for anything, but she showed up looking like a goddamn dream. And next thing I know, we're upstairs doing what we used to do. I tilted my head. But happened again. He gave me a sly look. Let's just say she didn't fight it. He was proud, gloating. Every word was a dagger. Do you think she regrets it? I asked. He laughed. Nah, I mean, she might say she does, but that fire's still there. It always was. Honestly, if I wanted her back, I could probably make it happen. That girl has never been able to say no to me. Click. Saved. I wrapped up the interview like nothing had happened. Told him I'd send him a link when the project was ready. He gave me a one-armed bro hug on the way out. You're doing a good thing, man. People need to hear real stories. Oh, they will, Troy. They really will. Back in my office that night, I watched the footage 3 times. Every smirk, every smug pause, every self-satisfied exhale as he talked about my wife like she was a favorite memory in a collection of conquests. But that wasn't what hit hardest. It was her, Brooke, because I could see her in his words. The way she'd melted into his confidence. The way she probably wanted to feel young again, wanted to remember what it felt like to be wanted. She gave herself to that fantasy for one night, and maybe she thought it ended there. But didn't, because now it was caught in 4K. Her ex had just confessed to fucking my wife on camera with zero shame. He'd said she didn't fight it, that he could get her back any time he wanted, and she thought she got away with it. Later that night, Brooke walked into the living room and saw me editing. "You've been really into this project lately," she said, sounding almost impressed. "Is it going well?" I looked up at her. "It's going exactly the way I planned." She smiled. "I'm glad you're putting your energy into something productive." I nodded. "You have no idea. It started in the quiet hours, those in-between moments of insomnia and exhaustion when your body is tired, but your mind won't shut the hell up. That's when I began editing. Not like a filmmaker, like a surgeon. I wasn't interested in melodrama or flashy effects. No music, no slow zooms, no black and white montages. Just people, faces, truth. I combed through hours of footage. Every word, every twitch, every guilty shift in posture. At first, I organized everything into folders. Confirmed lies, Brooke's cousin, her yoga friend, her own sister. Implicit knowledge, Lacey, Jen, even her mother. Direct confession, Troy. That smug, arrogant bastard practically narrating his own downfall. Emotional gut punches, sound bites about trust, betrayal, and the unraveling of intimacy. It was all there. Now it just needed to be woven together. I started with a cold open. Hannah's voice from the very first interview. You think you know someone. You share a bed, raise kids together, and still they can lie straight to your face. Then fade into a black screen. No title, no explanation, just a montage of faces. James and Erica holding hands, Jen sipping her tea nervously, Marcus smirking over his beer. Their voices layered together in quick cuts. We all keep secrets. It's easy to lie when you think no one's watching. I mean, would you really want to know the truth? Then silence, just the sound of a breath. And then came Brooke, a shot I'd captured of her walking through the kitchen, talking to Sarah. I slowed the footage just a beat, enough for people to register her body language. The guilt, the nervous glances, the way her voice dropped when she said, "He suspects something." Then back to black. Each segment had a rhythm. Section 1. The idea of love. Couples talking about commitment, trust, vulnerability. Erica, you're not just handing over your heart. You're handing someone a version of your soul and hoping they don't shatter it. Soft, reflective. This was the calm before the storm. I wanted the audience lulled into comfort, into empathy, then shift. Section 2. The discrepancies. Yenes hesitant recollection. She said things got intense at the party. She didn't expect old feelings to hit that hard. Lacey's offhand comment. She was still dancing on the kitchen counter when I left. Brooke's cousin. She stuck to the story. Said she passed out. But I don't know, man. It didn't feel right. I layered them together. Back to back. Each new contradiction building unease. Viewers would feel it before they fully understood it. Then came the centerpiece. Section 3. The fall. Troy's interview. No cuts. No interjections. Just 5 straight minutes of him bragging, describing her body, their chemistry, how it just happened. He laughed, said she didn't fight it, said he could have her back any time he wanted. That segment. I left raw, awkward, uncomfortable. I let the silences stretch just long enough that you could feel the shame ooze through the screen like sweat. Then cut to Brooke's sister saying, she regrets it, but she's scared. I think she thought she could bury it. Click. Black screen. Now came the real art, the misdirection. Section 4. The mirror. This part was subtle. I included interviews from friends and family talking about me. My character. My patience. My loyalty. Sarah, her sister. Matt's not the kind of guy to go nuclear. He's too calm. Too good. James. He's the guy who never gives up. That's why it hurts more when someone like that gets cheated on. Because he actually gave a shit. Then, finally, Brooke, from one of the only candid clips I had of her alone, on the phone in the kitchen, unaware the mic was live. She'd been venting to someone. Her voice trembling. Angry. Defensive. I don't know why he's being so quiet. It's worse than yelling. It's like he's just waiting for something. Like he knows, but he's not going to say it. She laughed bitterly. I don't even know who I'm married anymore. Perfect. Because by now, neither did anyone else. Final section. The reckoning. Back to Hannah. Trust is handing someone a loaded gun and believing they won't pull the trigger. I let that line linger. Then, black screen. White text appeared, simple, stark. Some truths don't need to be shouted. They just need to be seen. Fade out. I sat back and watched it one more time from beginning to end. The final runtime? 46 minutes. Not long, but long enough to burn everything down. I didn't say her name once. I didn't accuse. I didn't rage. But anyone who watched it, anyone in that room, they would know. And most importantly, she would know they knew. That night, my friend Nate, an old film school buddy who now freelanced as an editor, stopped by to polish the color and sound before the screening. He watched it all, headphones on, nodding like he was watching a masterpiece. "Dude," he said, pausing the video, "this is intense. Did you plan it this way from the start?" I just smiled. Not exactly, but the story told itself. He nodded, eyes still on the paused frame of Troy's smirking face. "Damn, this is gonna make waves, man." Yeah, that was the point. There's a kind of thrill in holding a secret this big. Not the guilty kind, the kind you want to bury under shame. No, this was cold, calculated power. I had created something undeniable, something raw and damning, and now it was time to pull the curtain back. Not for just her, for everyone. The people she laughed with, the ones who covered for her, the ones who whispered about me behind my back, wondering if I knew. They were all about to find out how much I knew, and more importantly, how long I'd been planning this. I started with the venue, a small, private theater in the back of an indie bookstore downtown. It was intimate, 50 seats max, a projector, surround sound, dim lighting, and just enough elegance to feel like an event. I told the owner I was screening an independent documentary, my passion project about love, trust, and what holds relationships together. She loved it. "Let me know if you want us to promote it," she said, her face lighting up. I shook my head, smiling politely. "No need. It's a private screening. Friends and family. Private, but far from discreet." The invitations were printed on thick cardstock, like a wedding announcement. I wanted them to feel important, impossible to ignore. "You are invited to a special screening of The Space Between Us, a documentary by Matt Carter, an intimate exploration of love, trust, and the invisible fractures that can destroy us. Friday, 7 p.m. The Kindred Room Theater, second floor. Drinks and reception to follow. Dress code, smart casual. Your presence means more than you know. I didn't send a single one by text or email. No aviches. No messages. These arrived in hand-addressed envelopes, on their doorsteps, in their mailboxes, or slid discreetly across cafe tables with a calm smile. It made people curious, intrigued, and for some, very nervous. I handed Brooke's invitation to her personally. She was in the kitchen, sipping red wine in one of those oversized stemless glasses she used to mock. I placed the envelope beside her phone without saying a word. She raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "Invitation. Private screening of the documentary." She opened it and read the card, brows knitting slightly. "You're inviting everyone? Only the people who matter." She set the card down and looked at me across the island. "You're not going to blindside me, right?" I met her gaze, steady and calm. "You're in it. So are a lot of people. It's about us. About what relationships survive and what they don't." Her lips parted slightly. "And I'm in how exactly?" "You'll see," I said. "Don't worry. No one's attacked. It's just honest." She didn't speak after that. She took another long sip of wine. Then another. That week, I sent out over 40 invitations. To her people, her sister Sarah, her yoga buddy Kelsey, Jen from work, Lacey and Rob, her mother, to mine, my brother, my co-workers who had seen me deteriorate in silence, my closest friends, and, of course, to the center of it all, Troy. I dropped his envelope in person, slid it into his mailbox myself. He texted me that night. "Dude, screening? Fancy. Can't wait to see what you cooked up. Bet I'm the comic relief." You have no idea. Over the next few days, I started seeing it in people's eyes. The ones who knew, who suspected, grew quiet. The smiles faded a little. The tone of their voices changed. It was subtle, but it was there. Kelsey messaged Brooke midweek. "Are you sure it's not, like about what happened at Troy's?" I read it. Brooke didn't respond. Sarah called the next day. I only heard her side of the conversation. "No, he just said it was about relationships. I don't know what footage he used." Pause. I don't know, Brooke. Just come. Or don't. But if you don't, it'll look worse. By Thursday night, Brooke was jumpy. She lingered near me in the kitchen like she wanted to ask something. Her fingers drummed on the counter. Her wine intake doubled. She barely touched her dinner. Finally, she asked, "Will there be any surprises?" I shrugged. Not for me. She didn't like that answer. And it showed. Friday morning, Troy posted an Instagram story. Him ironing a shirt, captioned, "Gotta dress smart casual for this mysterious screening." But it's a rom-com with guilt and tears. That smug little fucker even tagged the location. It was perfect, because now people were watching. They come expecting sentiment. They were getting slow burn annihilation. By 6:45 p.m., people started trickling in. The room filled with laughter, drinks in hand, that warm pre-event buzz of people not knowing what they're about to walk into. Brooke arrived at 6:59, wearing a soft gray dress and a tight smile. Her eyes scanned the crowd. They lingered on Troy, who waved casually at her like nothing had happened. Her gaze snapped me next. I met her eyes for one beat too long. She knew, not what was coming, but that something was. At 7:01, I stepped to the front of the theater and cleared my throat. Thank you all for coming. This has been a passion project. A story told not with actors, but with real people. I didn't make this to entertain you. I made it to show something we all live through, but rarely talk about. The room grew still. No laughter, no more casual sipping, just the flickering of anticipation. I looked directly at Brooke, then at Troy. Then I dimmed the lights and hit play. The lights dimmed. For a moment, the only sound was the gentle hum of the projector warming up and the soft creak of theater seats as guests shifted, settling in. I stood in the back, arms folded, heart steady. Not nervous. Not anymore. I wasn't presenting a theory. I wasn't speculating. I was showing them what already existed. The screen flickered to life. No credits. No flash intro. Just a face. Hannah's, her eyes red-rimmed, her voice soft. You think it's going to last forever. You do, until the moment it doesn't. And no one ever tells you the silence is where it starts. Not the yelling, not the affair, the silence. Already, the room quieted to a tension so thick I could feel it. You could sense people wondering, is this what I think it is? But no one dared speak. Not yet. The documentary unfolded slowly, deliberately. It was a masterclass in emotional escalation. The first act was a safe lull. Interviews with couples reflecting on what love means, how they met, the challenges they faced. People smiled. Some laughed softly. But I watched the ones who weren't laughing, Brooke. Sarah, Yen, Troy. Their faces tightened with every frame. The themes shifted, almost imperceptibly, from sweetness to fracture. James' voice cut in. The hardest part isn't betrayal. It's thinking they might have been planning it while still telling you they love you. Cut to Erica. You feel like the last one to know. And everyone else? They already knew. They just didn't say it. I scanned the room. Several people were holding their breath. Brooke sat rigid, her hands clenched together on her lap. Then came the first real fracture. Yenna's interview. She said it was intense, that she didn't expect to feel that way again, that strong. I just told her to be careful. The camera lingered on her expression. Unsure, guilty. A murmur rippled through the crowd. A few heads turned. Brooke didn't move. Then Lacey's voice. I left around 1. But Brooke was still there, dancing on the kitchen counter like it was 2009. Everyone saw it. Another ripple. This time louder. I saw Rob glance sideways at Lacey, eyebrows raised. Jen shifted in her seat. Troy smiled. Arrogant. Oblivious. He still thought he was watching a piece of art about everyone else. And then came the drop. The camera held on Troy. His voice came through, clear and steady. Man, she looks so fucking good. We didn't plan it, but we ended up upstairs. It was like nothing had changed. The way she kissed me, she didn't fight it. Mouths opened in shock. You could hear sharp inhales. One woman gasped and whispered, "Is that Troy?" Troy froze. His smile faltered. I saw his jaw tighten. Then he shifted in his seat like the cushions had caught fire. The footage continued. If I wanted her back, I could get her. Easy. She always came back to me. The silence in the room turned violent. Then Brooke's cousin, her yoga friend. her sister, all gently corroborating the same narrative, never realizing they were weaving a noose. Kelsey's voice. She told me not to mention anything to Matt, that he was getting suspicious. Sarah. I didn't know if I should tell him. I mean, Brooke said it was a mistake, but by then it was already done. At this point, Brooke looked like stone. Still, pale, the veins in her neck visibly pulsing. Then the final segment. Brooke's voice. From the kitchen, mic live, phone pressed to her ear. I don't know why he's being so quiet. It's worse than yelling. It's like he's just waiting. Like he knows, but he's not saying it. I don't even know who I'm married anymore. Then, Hannah again, just her voice, this time layered over a black screen. Some truths don't explode. They just unfold until you realize you were standing in the wreckage the whole time. The screen faded to black. A beat of silence. Then white text appeared. The space between us. A film by Matt Carter. No applause. No movement. Just stunned, uncomfortable stillness. Then whispers. Murmurs. The shifting of weight in seats. The sound of discomfort becoming realization. Someone said under their breath, Jesus Christ. Another. That was about her. That was her. And finally, Brooke. She stood, slowly, shaking. Her eyes scanned the room. Faces she knew, faces that now looked through her. She turned to me, her lips parting, but no words came out. I stepped forward. I didn't say a thing. Didn't need to. She backed away, hands trembling. A single tear fell. Then she turned and rushed out the side exit, the door banging shut behind her. Troy sat frozen. For once, no words. Just wide, stunned eyes staring at the now empty screen that had just burned his reputation to ash. He tried to stand, then sat back down. Looked around. Realized there was nowhere to run that didn't lead directly through every judgmental stare in that room. The lights came up. People stood in slow clusters. No one looked directly at me. They looked at each other. At the empty chair where Brooke had sat. At Troy. At themselves. That was the part that mattered. Because now, none of them could pretend they didn't know. They weren't just witnesses. They were participants. She ran out. But the damage didn't. It lingered, thick in the air like smoke after a fire. The people left behind weren't rushing to the bar for drinks, weren't mingling or clapping or offering polite commentary. They were just still, like they didn't know whether to feel sympathy, shame, or something darker. I stayed at the back of the room, arms folded, letting the silence stretch. Troy finally stood, slowly, like he wasn't sure his legs would cooperate. His face was still wearing the remnants of that signature smirk. Only now it looked cracked. Hollow. He cleared his throat. So, is this some kind of revenge porn or what? Nobody laughed. Lacey turned to him, jaws set tight. You knew she was married. You both knew. Jen shook her head slowly, eyes wide. I can't believe I defended her. I thought she was just lost. But she lied. She used us. And the whispers began again. Soft. Razor sharp. She said they were separated. I had no idea it was this bad. She lets talk about Matt like he was some paranoid husband. I feel sick. Her mother was still seated near the front. Pale. Frozen. Staring blankly at the black screen. She hadn't even blinked when Brooke left. After a minute, she rose from her seat, looking 10 years older. She turned to me as she passed, just a brief glance, and whispered, I'm so sorry, Matt. Then she was gone too. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Everyone had already drawn their conclusions. The documentary wasn't an accusation. It was a mirror, one that reflected each of them back to themselves. Every person who nodded along to Brooke's excuses, who told me to trust her when I saw the cracks forming, who knew, or at least suspected, but didn't say a damn thing. Even Troy couldn't spin it anymore. A few more people trickled out quietly. Some paused at the door like they wanted to say something. Apologize. Offer comfort. But they didn't. Because how do you look a man in the eye after watching his wife confess with her body to someone else? With her voice, her laughter, her secrets? How do you pretend you didn't see? I walked outside into the cool night air. She was there. Brooke, sitting on the curb in that gray dress, her heels off, knees tucked to her chest. Her makeup was streaked from crying, but she didn't look up when I approached. She just whispered, "You planned this." I stood there a moment, watching the way her shoulders trembled. "Yes," I said. "I did." Her voice cracked. "You made everyone hate me." "They don't hate you," I replied. "They see you. For the first time." She finally looked up, eyes red, mascara smudged. "Why? Why would you humiliate me like this?" I crouched, arms resting on my knees, our faces inches apart. "You walked into that man's bed. You handed him our vows and let him fuck them to death. And then you came home, looked me in the eyes, and kissed me like nothing had changed." Her lower lip quivered. "I thought you'd never find out." "That's the thing, Brooke," I said quietly. "You didn't care if I did. You were waiting for me to find out. You just didn't want it like this." She turned her head away, like the truth hurt more than the exposure. I stood again. "I didn't humiliate you. You just never expected to be held accountable." The sound of the doors behind us opening broke the tension. Troy stepped outside alone. He spotted us and froze. Brooke wiped her face, scrambled to her feet. "Don't," she said to him, her voice low, ragged. He looked at me, something sheepish flashing behind his smugness. "Matt, look, man, I didn't." I cut him off. "Don't ever speak to me again." He hesitated, glanced at Brooke, then turned and walked down the street without another word. Just like that. The man who thought he was untouchable walked away, looking like a boy who'd just been told recess was over. Brooke looked up at me again. Her eyes weren't just red now, they were wide. Frantic. "Is this it?" she asked. "Are we over?" The question hung in the air, heavy and sad. I didn't answer, not because I didn't know, but because I wanted her to sit in it, to feel what it meant to even ask that question. After all these years, after everything, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard her sob, but I didn't stop, because that wasn't my pain anymore. That was hers. 3 weeks. That's how long it's been since the night of the screening. The calls have slowed. The texts, too. Most people don't know what to say. Some try. They dance around the subject. Ask how I'm doing, tell me I'm so strong. Others just disappear. It's funny how betrayal doesn't just reveal your partner. It reveals everyone. Brooke moved out 5 days after the screening. She didn't say much. Packed 2 suitcases and a box of things she said she couldn't leave behind. Left the wedding album. Our framed vacation photo from Santorini. The snow globe we bought in Vermont the winter we got snowed in and made love for hours by the fireplace. She didn't even take her toothbrush. She left that in the holder like she meant to come back. She won't. The day she left, she asked me a question at the door. "I know I can't fix what I did," she said, her voice shaking. "But I need to know, do you hate me?" I looked her in the eyes, really looked for the first time in a long time. And I told her the truth. "No," I said, "I don't hate you." And I meant it. Because what I feel now, it's not hatred. It's not love either. It's freedom. Troy never reached out again. He deactivated all his social accounts within 48 hours of the screening. Word got around that he was dropped from a couple consulting gigs. Apparently, some of the wives in the social circle started calling him documentary dick. I didn't celebrate that. I didn't need to. Reputation is a slow-burning match, and some people are dumb enough to strike it against their own ego. As for the documentary, it spread quietly. A few of the guests asked for copies. For reflection, they said, to remind themselves what not to become. Nate told me he got 3 calls about distribution offers from indie doc platforms. I said no. It wasn't for the world. It was for us, for everyone who ever smiled through clenched teeth, who swallowed suspicions, who gave their partner one more chance when they should have walked. It was my story, but it became ours. And me? I moved back into the guest room. At first, it was just to get space. Then I realized I liked it there. It was mine. The bed creaked less. The window caught more light in the mornings. The silence didn't feel so heavy. I started journaling again, going for runs, even started a new project, nothing ambitious. Just a series of interviews about recovery this time, about what happens after the dust settles. Because no one talks about that part. The after. They show you the betrayal. They show you the confrontation, maybe even the revenge. But they don't show you the mornings where you wake up alone and breathe and realize you're still whole. They don't show you the nights where the bed feels too big, but the air feels clean. They don't show you how being alone isn't lonely, it's honest. So here's what I learned. Cheating doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your reality. You question your worth, your memory, the way you loved. You wonder if any of it was real. And the truth is, maybe some of it wasn't. But that doesn't make you any less real. And if you're reading this because you've been through it, if you've sat in the dark, watching someone you love turn into a stranger, know this. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're waking up, one breath at a time. I don't know if I believe in closure, but I believe in clarity. And the day Brooke walked out of my house with a suitcase and tears in her eyes, that was the clearest I've ever seen her. Not because she was crying, but because she finally wasn't wearing the mask she wore for years. And for once, I wasn't either.